If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more emotional narratives that will touch your heart. Now, let's dive into Megan's journey. The blue light of the projector illuminated Megan Thompson's face as she stood before the boardroom of executives. 24 pairs of eyes focused on her as she navigated through her presentation slides with practiced precision. This pitch to Horizon Global wasn't just another client meeting. It represented 6 months of research, strategy development, and countless late nights at the office. As you can see from these engagement metrics, Megan gestured toward the screen, her voice steady despite the dull throb beginning behind her eyes. Our proposed campaign would increase your digital footprint by approximately 43% in the first quarter alone. The throbbing intensified, transforming from a gentle pulse to a hammer striking against her skull. Megan blinked rapidly, trying to clear the sudden blur creeping into her vision. The faces of the executives began to swim before her, merging into indistinct shapes. "Ms. Thompson?" The voice of Horizon's CEO seemed to come from underwater. "Are you all right?" Megan opened her mouth to respond, but the words dissolved on her tongue. The room tilted sharply to the left, then the right. Her knees buckled beneath her, the presentation clicker slipping from her fingers and clattering against the polished hardwood floor. The last thing Megan registered before darkness claimed her was the horrified gasp of her assistant, Eleanor, rushing toward her from the back of the room. Megan awoke to the steady beep of a heart monitor and the antiseptic smell of hospital linens. The ceiling above her was composed of white acoustic tiles, intersected by fluorescent lighting. Her mouth felt like it had been stuffed with cotton. "Welcome back," a gentle male voice said from beside her bed. Megan turned her head, wincing at the movement. A nurse with kind eyes and close-cropped dark hair smiled at her. His ID badge read, "Jordan Matthews, RN." "What happened?" Megan's voice emerged as a croak. "You collapsed during a meeting," Jordan explained, checking the IV line running into her arm. "Your blood pressure dropped significantly. The doctors are running tests to determine the cause." Memories flickered through Megan's mind. The boardroom, the presentation, the sudden pain. "The pitch," she gasped, attempting to sit up. "I need to call easy." Jordan placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Your colleague Elena has been here all afternoon. She took care of notifying your office." Elena was here? Something warm unfurled in Megan's chest, momentarily displacing the anxiety. "She only left when visiting hours ended. Made me promise to text her when you woke up." Jordan's smile broadened. "She also said something about salvaging the Horizon situation. Whatever that means." Megan sank back against the pillows. "My parents," she said. "Did anyone call my family?" A shadow passed over Jordan's face. "The hospital contacted your emergency contacts when you were admitted. That would have been..." He checked the chart. "Robert and Diane Thompson." "And?" Megan prompted, though something inside her already knew the answer. "They were notified several hours ago," Jordan said carefully. "They haven't arrived yet, but perhaps they're on their way." Megan gave a short, bitter laugh that sent pain shooting through her head. "Don't count on it." The doctor's words hung in the sterile air of the hospital room. "Ms. Thompson, the MRI revealed a small tumor on your temporal lobe." Megan's fingers clutched the thin hospital blanket, her knuckles whitening. "Cancer?" The word felt foreign on her tongue, as if she were speaking a language she'd never learned. "We won't know for certain until we perform a biopsy," Dr. Sharma explained, her voice gentle but direct. "But regardless of whether it's benign or malignant, its location is causing your symptoms. The headaches, the fainting episode, the occasional memory lapses you mentioned." Memory lapses. Was that why she'd forgotten her mother's birthday last month? Megan had attributed it to stress, to being overwhelmed with the Horizon campaign. Her mother had been coldly furious, adding it to the mental tally of Megan's failures. "How soon can you do the biopsy?" Megan asked, proud of how steady her voice remained. "We'd like to schedule it for tomorrow morning," Dr. Sharma replied. "In the meantime, we'll keep you here for observation." After the doctor left, Megan reached for her phone on the bedside table. No missed calls from her parents, no texts asking how she was feeling or if she needed anything. Just work emails and a sweet message from Elena checking in. With a heaviness settling in her chest, Megan opened Instagram. She hadn't checked her family's accounts in weeks, a small act of self-preservation. Her thumb hesitated over her sister Ashley's profile before tapping it. The most recent post, timestamped just 3 hours ago, showed her parents and Ashley beaming at the camera, the colorful attractions of Wonderland theme park visible behind them. All three wore matching blue t-shirts emblazoned with Thompson Family Day in cheerful yellow letters. Her father had his arm around Ashley's shoulders, her mother leaning into his other side, their poses relaxed and joyful. The caption read, "Family Day without the drama. She blessed us your family first is his perfect day." Megan stared at the image until it blurred, unsure if the cause was unshed tears or another symptom of the tumor pressing against her brain. They hadn't even bothered to make up an excuse. They'd simply gone about their day, celebrating their family, their real family, the one that didn't include their difficult older daughter. A soft knock at the door pulled Megan from her thoughts. Jordan entered carrying a small paper cup of pills. "Time for your evening meds," he announced, then paused, noticing her expression. "Everything okay?" Megan quickly locked her phone screen. "Fine," she said automatically, reaching for the medication. Jordan didn't move to hand it over, his gaze steady on her face. "You know, in my 7 years as a nurse, I've never once met a patient who was fine while in a hospital bed." A surprised laugh escaped Megan's lips. "Fair point. Want to try again?" Jordan asked, his tone light but his eyes kind. Megan hesitated, unaccustomed to sharing her family dynamics with strangers, but something about Jordan's presence felt safe, non-judgmental. "My family," she finally said, gesturing to her phone. "They're at an amusement park right now, Thompson Family Day." -1 Thompson, obviously. Understanding dawned on Jordan's face. "They don't know you're here." "Oh, they know. The hospital called them hours ago." Megan's smile didn't reach her eyes. Apparently, roller coasters took priority. Jordan handed her the medication cup and a glass of water. "Their loss," he said simply. "You seem like excellent company, brain tumor and all." For the first time since waking in the hospital, Megan felt the knot in her chest loosen slightly. "You might be the first person to think so." Megan's downtown Chicago apartment greeted her with the same sleek, impersonal atmosphere she'd left 3 days before. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of the city skyline, the gleaming glass and steel structures reaching toward the clouds like ambitious dreams. She placed her hospital discharge papers on the marble kitchen island, her gaze drifting to the framed degree on the wall, MBA from Northwestern, graduated with honors. Evidence of her determined escape from Lakewood, the small Michigan town where she'd grown up feeling perpetually insufficient. This apartment, with its modern furniture and minimalist decor, swallowed half of her $4,000 monthly salary. To Megan, every penny was worth it. The space represented everything she'd fought for: independence, success, distance from the family that had always made her feel like an outsider. The biopsy results wouldn't be ready for another 3 days. 3 days of suspended animation, of existing in the liminal space between health and illness, between life continuing as normal and life transforming into something unrecognizable. Megan's phone buzzed with a text from Elena. Checking in. "Need anything? I can bring dinner. Or wine. Or both." A smile tugged at Megan's lips as she typed her response. "Doctor said no alcohol, but I wouldn't say no to food and company." While waiting for Elena, Megan opened her laptop to check her work emails. A message from her boss, Martin, sat at the top of her inbox. "Megan, hope you're feeling better. Horizon was impressed with what they saw before your incident." Elena stepped in admirably to finish the presentation. "Take the week to recover. We'll discuss your accounts when you return." M before her incident, as if she'd committed some professional faux pas rather than collapsing due to a brain tumor. Megan closed her laptop with more force than necessary, frustration bubbling beneath her skin. Her phone rang, displaying her grandfather William's name. Unlike her parents and sister, her grandfather had called every day since her hospitalization. "Hi, Grandpa," she answered, her voice softening. "Meggie." His familiar, gravelly voice warmed her from the inside out. "You home now?" "Just got back. The doctor says I need to rest until we get the biopsy results." "Good, good. You listened to those doctors." A pause, then. "Your parents call you yet?" Megan's throat tightened. "Not yet." The silence on the other end spoke volumes. Finally, William sighed. "I raised your father better than that." "It's okay, Grandpa. I'm used to it." "That's what breaks my heart, kiddo." Another pause. "You know my cabin is always open to you. Fresh air might do you good." The cabin on Lake Michigan had been Megan's sanctuary throughout childhood. When the tension at home became unbearable, when Ashley's achievements overshadowed Megan's existence, the cabin offered refuge. Her grandfather never compared, never criticized, never made her feel like she wasn't enough. "I might take you up on that after I get my results," Megan said. "You do that. The old place misses you. So do I." After they hung up, Megan wandered to her bedroom, pulling open the drawer of her nightstand. Inside lay a small wooden box, hand-carved with intricate leaf patterns, a gift from her grandfather on her 16th birthday. She opened it, revealing a collection of smooth stones, one from each summer spent at the cabin. Each represented a moment of peace, a memory uncomplicated by family dynamics. Megan ran her fingers over them, drawing strength from their cool solidity. A knock at the door announced Elena's arrival, bearing bags of fragrant Thai food and a sympathetic smile. As they settled on Megan's pristine white couch with containers of pad thai and green curry, Elena studied her friend's face. "So," Elena said, twirling noodles around her fork, "are you going to tell me what's really going on? And don't say just a fainting spell, because I saw your face when you got that call from the doctor." Megan hesitated, then decided that pretense required energy she simply didn't have. "They found a tumor on my temporal lobe." Elena's fork clattered against the container. "Oh my God, Megan. They don't know if it's cancerous yet. I'll find out in a few days." "Have you told your family?" Megan pushed a piece of chicken around in her curry. "The hospital called them. They know. And they took my sister to Wonderland instead of coming to see me." Elena's expression hardened. "You're kidding me." "It's fine, really." Megan forced a smile. "I'm 32 years old. I don't need my mommy holding my hand at the hospital. That's not the point, and you know it." Elena set down her food. "Everyone deserves support when they're facing something like this, especially from family." Megan thought of her grandfather's call, of Jordan's kindness at the hospital, of Elena sitting beside her now. "I have support," she said softly, "just not from the people who are supposed to provide it." The incessant ringing of Megan's phone dragged her from a fitful sleep. Groggily, she fumbled for it on her nightstand, squinting at the screen. Aunt Carol, her father's sister. "Hello?" Megan answered, her voice rough with sleep. "Megan!" Aunt Carol's voice cracked. "It's Grandpa. He's had a stroke. They've taken him to St. Mary's." Fully awake now, Megan sat bolt upright. "How bad is it?" "The doctors say it's serious. He's asking for you." 30 minutes later, Megan rushed through the doors of St. Mary's Hospital in Lakewood, Michigan, having caught the first flight from Chicago. The familiar small-town medical center was a far cry from the sleek urban hospital where she'd been a patient just days before. At the nurse's station, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes directed Megan to room 215. "He's been asking for his Meggie," the nurse said. "Are you her?" Megan nodded, a lump forming in her throat. Outside her grandfather's room, Megan collided with her father. Robert Thompson looked older than she remembered, the lines around his eyes deeper, his hair grayer. "Megan," he seemed genuinely surprised to see her. "You came." The simple statement ignited a spark of anger in Megan's chest. Of course I came. He's my grandfather. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them. 32 years of misunderstandings and unmet expectations compressed into a hospital hallway. Your mother and Ashley are in the cafeteria, Robert finally said. They've been here all night. Unlike when I was in the hospital, Megan replied, the words escaping before she could stop them. Her father's expression shuttered. Is this really the time for that discussion? When is the time, Dad? When has it ever been the right time to talk about why I'm always the afterthought? Robert ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Megan's heart ache despite her anger. Your grandfather is asking for you, he said, sidestepping her question with practiced ease. Don't keep him waiting. Inside the room, William Thompson looked small against the white hospital sheets, his normally robust frame diminished. Monitors beeped steadily, tracking his vital signs. When he saw Megan, his face lit up with a weak smile. Meggie, he whispered, his speech slurred from the stroke. You came. Megan moved to his bedside, taking his weathered hand in hers. Wild horses couldn't keep me away, Grandpa. For the next hour, Megan sat with her grandfather, talking quietly about everything and nothing. She avoided mentioning her own health concerns, unwilling to burden him with additional worry. When a nurse came to check William's vitals, Megan stepped out into the hallway, nearly colliding with her sister Ashley. Oh, Ashley said, her perfectly manicured hand flying to her chest. You startled me. Megan studied her younger sister, ash-blonde hair in an artful messy bun, designer jeans, a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than Megan's monthly grocery budget. Ashley had always been the golden child. Homecoming queen, valedictorian, now a successful pediatrician with 2 perfect children and a husband who looked like he'd stepped out of a J. Crew catalog. How is he? Ashley asked, genuine concern in her voice. Stable, but weak, Megan replied. The doctors say the next 24 hours are critical. Ashley nodded, fidgeting with her wedding ring. Listen, Megan, about what happened with you in Chicago. Don't, Megan interrupted. Not now. I just wanted to say that you're sorry for posting about your perfect family day while I was lying in a hospital bed alone. That you're sorry none of you bothered to call or text or show even the slightest concern. Megan's voice remained low, mindful of their surroundings, but each word carried the weight of decades of hurt. Ashley's eyes widened. That's not fair. We didn't know how serious it was. You didn't ask, Megan countered. You never ask. You just assume that whatever's happening with me isn't important enough to disrupt your picture-perfect life. Before Ashley could respond, their mother appeared at the end of the hallway, her expression shifting from surprise to wariness upon seeing Megan. The doctor wants to speak with us, Diane Thompson announced, her gaze sliding past her elder daughter to focus on Ashley. As Megan followed her mother and sister toward the doctor's consultation room, she pulled out her phone and opened FaceTime. It was time for a long overdue conversation. 4 days after William Thompson's funeral, Megan stood on the weathered dock extending into Lake Michigan, watching the sunset paint the water in shades of gold and crimson. The cabin, her grandfather's beloved retreat, and now, according to his will, Megan's property, stood sentinel behind her, its rustic silhouette a comforting presence against the darkening sky. The biopsy results had come in the day before the funeral. Benign meningioma, operable with a high success rate. The relief had been tempered by grief, joy, and sorrow mingling until Megan could no longer distinguish between them. She heard footsteps on the wooden planks of the dock and turned to find Jordan approaching, 2 steaming mugs in his hands. Thought you might want some tea, he said, offering her one of the mugs. It's getting chilly out here. Megan accepted it with a grateful smile. In the week since her grandfather's passing, Jordan had become an unexpected source of support. After caring for her in the hospital, he'd offered his condolences when he'd learned about William, and somehow they'd kept in touch. When Megan mentioned she was heading to the cabin to sort through her grandfather's belongings, Jordan had volunteered to help. "I'm off for the next 3 days," he'd said, "and no one should have to face that kind of task alone." Now they stood side by side on the dock, watching the last rays of sunlight disappear beyond the horizon. "Your grandfather had excellent taste in real estate," Jordan commented, taking a sip of his tea. Megan nodded, her throat tight with emotion. This place was his paradise. He built most of it himself, you know. Started with just a simple fishing shack back in the 1960s. "It has character," Jordan said, "unlike that sterile apartment of yours." Megan laughed, surprised by his teasing. "Hey, that sterile apartment costs a small fortune. And yet you look more at home here than you ever did there." The observation struck Megan with its accuracy. In Chicago, she had created a life designed to prove something, to her family, to herself. Here at the lake, there was nothing to prove, no one to impress. "I've been thinking about what happens after my surgery," Megan said quietly, "about what I want my life to look like." Jordan turned to face her, his expression open and attentive. "And what have you concluded? That maybe success isn't measured by the size of your paycheck or the view from your apartment?" Megan gazed out at the lake, now a vast expanse of deepening blue. "Maybe it's about being surrounded by people who show up when it matters." The memory of the FaceTime call with her family in the hospital hallway surfaced. Her revelation about the tumor, her parents' shocked faces, Ashley's tears. Too little, too late. The subsequent awkward interactions at the funeral had only confirmed what Megan had already known. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt once they'd crumbled. "People like Elena," Jordan suggested, "and your grandfather. And you," Megan added softly. "You showed up for a complete stranger." "Not a complete stranger," Jordan corrected with a gentle smile. "Just someone I hadn't had the pleasure of knowing yet." As darkness settled over the lake, stars emerging like scattered diamonds against black velvet, Megan felt something shift within her, a recalibration of priorities, a redefinition of family. "I'm thinking of keeping the cabin," she said. "Maybe even living here part-time. Lakewood is a bit of a commute to Chicago. I could work remotely, or find something closer. There are marketing firms in Grand Rapids." Jordan nodded thoughtfully. "Sounds like you're considering some major changes." "The thing about having a brain tumor," Megan said, "is that it forces you to evaluate what really matters. And I've realized that I've spent most of my adult life running away from this town because of my family, when this place, this cabin, was always where I felt most myself." They fell into comfortable silence, the gentle lapping of waves against the dock pilings providing a soothing rhythm. In the distance, a loon called, its haunting cry echoing across the water. "Thank you," Megan said suddenly, turning to face Jordan, "for being here, for helping me through all of this." Jordan's smile illuminated his features in the gathering darkness. "That's what friends do. Is that what we are? Friends?" "For now," Jordan replied, his tone light but his eyes serious. "But I'm open to renegotiating terms in the future." Megan laughed, the sound carrying across the water, free, unburdened, genuine. For the first time in longer than she could remember, the weight of absence didn't press down upon her shoulders. Instead, she felt the presence of what remained, of what was building, of what could be. 6 months later, the cabin had transformed, much like its owner. Megan had traded her minimalist Chicago apartment for the rustic charm of lakeside living, bringing only what truly mattered from her previous life. The surgery had been successful, the recovery challenging but straightforward. Throughout it all, her self-made family had been her anchors, Elena driving up from Chicago every other weekend, Jordan becoming a fixture in her daily life, her new neighbors bringing casseroles and offering help with cabin repairs. Today, Megan sat at the weathered wooden desk that had once been her grandfather's, finalizing the business plan for her marketing consultancy. The large windows offered a panoramic view of Lake Michigan, now thawing as spring tentatively replaced winter. Her phone chimed with a text from Jordan. Still on for dinner. I'm bringing that wine you like. Megan smiled as she typed her response, looking forward to it. I have news. The news was an offer from a client in Traverse City, her biggest yet, enough to sustain her business through its critical first year. Jordan would celebrate this victory as if it were his own, just as he'd held her hand through the darkest moments of her recovery. Their relationship had evolved gradually, naturally, from friendship to something deeper. Jordan had relocated to the hospital in Lakewood, claiming the small-town pace suited him better than Chicago's frenetic energy. Megan suspected she might have influenced his decision, but neither of them felt the need to articulate it. Some truths were understood without words. A knock at the door interrupted Megan's thoughts. She wasn't expecting anyone besides Jordan, and he wasn't due for another hour. When she opened the door, she found Ashley standing on the porch, looking uncertain and out of place in her designer boots and cashmere coat. "Hi," Ashley said, fidgeting with her car keys. "I was in the area for a conference and I thought—" She trailed off, seeming to lose conviction. Megan studied her sister, noting the shadows beneath her eyes, the tension in her shoulders. "You thought you'd stop by unannounced after 6 months of silence." Ashley winced. "I deserve that." "Yes, you do," Megan agreed, but stepped aside. "Come in anyway." Inside, Ashley glanced around the cabin, taking in the changes. The new furniture mingled with treasured pieces of their grandfathers, the wall of photographs documenting Megan's new life, the evidence of a woman who had found her place in the world. "It looks different," Ashley commented, "but also the same, somehow." "That's what I was going for," Megan replied, moving to the kitchen to put on a pot of coffee. "Why are you here, Ashley?" Ashley sank onto the couch, her composure cracking. "I miss you," she admitted, her voice small. "And I'm sorry for everything. The hospital, the Instagram post, all of it." Megan leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. "It wasn't just that one incident, Ashley. It was a lifetime of being the family afterthought." "I know," Ashley whispered. "I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw your face that day in the hospital hallway. You looked at us like we were strangers. That's how you treated me." Ashley nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. "Mom and Dad have been trying to figure out how to reach out. They're not good at admitting when they're wrong." "Neither am I," Megan acknowledged. "It's a Thompson family trait." A small laugh escaped Ashley, along with stubbornness and an unhealthy, competitive streak. The coffee maker gurgled as it finished brewing. Megan poured 2 mugs, handed one to Ashley, and sat in the armchair across from her. "I'm not ready for a full family reunion," Megan said honestly. "I might never be, but I'm willing to start with you right here if you're serious about rebuilding something." Ashley cradled her coffee mug, her expression vulnerable and hopeful. "I am. I want my sister back." "The sister you knew doesn't exist anymore," Megan cautioned. "The brain tumor, Grandpa's death moving here, it all changed me." "Then I want to know who you are now," Ashley replied simply. As they talked, hesitantly at first, then with increasing openness, the afternoon light shifted across the cabin floor. They shared stories. Ashley about her children, Megan about her new business and her relationship with Jordan. They navigated around painful topics, acknowledging them without dwelling, laying the groundwork for what might someday become a bridge across the chasm between them. When Jordan arrived for dinner, he assessed the situation with a nurse's perceptiveness, introducing himself to Ashley with warm courtesy, before suggesting that perhaps he and Megan reschedule their plans. "Actually," Megan said, surprising herself, "why don't you join us? Ashley was just about to leave, but I think you two should meet properly." Later, after Ashley had departed with tentative plans to visit again, Megan and Jordan stood on the dock, watching the stars emerge above the lake. "Are you okay?" Jordan asked, his arm around her shoulders. Megan considered the question, taking inventory of her emotions. "I think so. It was unexpected. Do you think anything will change with your family?" "I don't know," Megan answered honestly. And for the first time, I'm okay with that uncertainty. My happiness doesn't depend on their approval anymore. Jordan pressed a kiss to her temple. That's what healing looks like. As the lake lapped gently against the shore, Megan reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From a hospital room in Chicago to this dock, from isolation to connection, from the weight of absence to the fullness of presence. "You know what I've learned?" she said, leaning into Jordan's embrace. "Family isn't always who you're born to. Sometimes it's who shows up when you need them most." Jordan's arms tightened around her. "Like a marketing colleague who brings Thai food? Or a nurse who offers tea and perspective," Megan added with a smile. Above them, a shooting star traced a brilliant path across the night sky, a momentary presence against the vast darkness, a reminder that even fleeting connections could illuminate the way forward. If you enjoyed this emotional journey with Megan, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps bring more heartfelt stories like this one to life. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes our greatest strength is discovered in our moments of vulnerability.